All right, good morning, everybody. How's it going? Hope everyone in the Illuvium community is having a fantastic day. We're not going to waste too much time here getting started. Of course, welcome to This Week in Illuvium. Week number 3 of trying this show out here with a bit of a new style in the Illuvium universe, while of course talking about the any sort of news, any sort of announcements, as well as keeping tabs on what the community is bringing out, what kind of meta the arena's in, what kind of sales are happening in the Illuvidex, and all of the above and more. And we've got plenty to talk about, of course, with a bit of a headliner that actually just got dropped just yesterday. So we'll be getting into that in just a moment's time. I'm quickly trying to scavenge around a little bit here. Apparently my chats have all disappeared here today, and logging in is not quite working. So I'm very, very briefly trying to get that situated. Won't take long, though. Appreciate the patience there for that. Get everything up and running, make sure all is good, and I think we're okay now. Just gotta do it a little bit differently. But of course, regardless of which platform you happen to be watching, whether it's on X, YouTube, or Twitch, of course, I do have the chats available. So even though we're going through the news, I'll gladly still converse here with everybody, but it is of course not mandatory. I'm just happy you're here to begin with. So let's see, let's have at it here with our news for the week. There we go. Okay, there, that's better. All right, so here we go. Welcome to This Week in Illuvium. Again, week number 3. Let's get into the swing of things right off the rip, with the big headliner being the fact that the Overworld as we know it is going to be closing very, very soon. There was a recent post in the Discord, which again, I find it interesting that it's on the Discord, but not on the X page. But with the zkEVM migration currently happening, it does mean that there's going to be a lot of maintenance happening at the same time, and with that we will be seeing the closing of the Overworld. I do have the web page popped open here in just a second, and we can take a look at that. Kind of breaks it all down into a little bit more detail, because this is kind of huge. This isn't a temporary closing of Overworld with it coming back in a little bit. No, this is technically closing it until the MMO's out, which is quite a commitment. Pop that open right here, right now. There we go. So the zkEVM migration starting soon. We're going to go through it together because this kind of touches on both of the topics at hand here. The nice thing that I'm realizing, because this is technically, I think, the second time I've seen some sort of migration happening with stuff on the Web3 networks and whatnot. That's not my expertise. I'm not a tech kind of guy. I'm not a crypto guy. I don't really know much about it. Heck, on kind of called myself out a little bit on the X post I made talking about how, yeah, this zkEVM thing is a thing. I have no idea what it's about, so here's the page if you want to know more about it. But it does actually kind of tie in a little bit here with the Overworld. So let's start from the top here. We kind of seen the first couple of aspects coming on through with the other rewards being taken down, but we're also going to see rewards being paused for 0 and for Beyond, the other 2 leaderboards that were currently active. So those 2 are going to be paused for at least 2 weeks, it looks like here, so that they can get the migration on forward, but I imagine those will come back shortly after. And this is it right here. So the Overworld will be shut down ahead of the migration, looking like January 26th is the date here for that shutdown. And it'll reopen in the future as the full MMO release. All of your items and Illuvials will be safely migrated and tradable until the MMO launches. So this does make it very, very odd here for the Overworld players. I mean, we all kind of knew that this was coming eventually, that they would have to take the servers down for the MMO to become a thing. However, I don't think we necessarily knew it was going to be coming so quickly. I'm thankful that they at least gave everybody a week and it's giving everybody kind of their last possible chances to hop in and get their alluvials, if you want to do it by actually playing the game. Because otherwise, if you're trying to get alluvials once the overworld is shut down, I think you're basically relying on two sources. Either you have to do it by the Illuvidex, by the marketplace itself, or you're just ripping packs in the auto drone run. Otherwise, yeah, there's no new alluvials really going to be out there. So if anybody has some last minute pickups that they need for their collection, but actually want to go out into the overworld and do it and not just hop into the Illuvidex, you only have until the 26th, which I believe is Monday. So another, let's see, 3 more days or so, 3 full days, 4 days to actually get that done. Now, in regards to the arena, the shop's going to be closed, so no cosmetics and whatnot. Gauntlet can still be played. However, the Illuvial XP will not update at all. So I imagine, because again, the EXP or the experience is kind of tied to the Illuvial asset, which is currently being migrated, and I imagine that being difficult to try and update while it's also being migrated. So Illuvial XP, I know we just kind of got it back, but it will essentially be gone for a little while. But it says it will not update after matches. I'm curious if it'll still, like, register the experience, but just only show up later once the migration's done. Or if it just straight up any matches played during this time will not count towards XP, which would definitely hurt, but it's a unfortunate necessary evil, I think, with the technology at hand, and they just could keep it on while the migrations are happening. For Illuvium 0, trading of plots will be disabled, and you won't be able to mint anything through your 0-point transducers, but you can at least still hop in and play the game itself. So, perfect little time if you have a couple of upgrades that you've been procrastinating on, like myself. You can still hop in, collect your fuel, and still keep building your buildings and upgrading them as you normally would. Just between the minting part being done and then the fact that fuel burning doesn't actually count towards the leaderboard, it might be a time to save up a little bit. Zephyros, hello, welcome, good morning. Hope you're having a great day. The blockchain freeze. So this is basically if you try and go onto the Illuvium website, I imagine most of them will give you like 404s not being found because it's currently being like frozen. Immutable X, so the trading and asset transfers. Again, part of the migration will definitely come down for at least a little bit. Let's take a look here. During the migration itself, over multiple days, your tokens, ILV, ETH, USDC, will all be migrated. Claiming rewards will be disabled for a little bit while this migration is happening. So if you go to your rewards page and it does not work, don't be alarmed. It's just a matter of migration. You're not missing out. You just can't get them at that very, very second. If you move Illuvium assets from Immutable X to Ethereum, they will be reminted on the new zkEVM. Fuel crates will not be migrated, but the fuel will go directly to the owners. Now, after the migration, this is the only thing that pops up being labeled as something that you as the user have to actually take action on, and that's only if you want to resell your assets after the fact. So, not too bad. Most of the time, if you're active on the marketplace anyway, you'll be on top of this as is. This will probably clean out the market, though, of all of those wishful thinking kind of marketplace ads that have been up there probably since the game's been out, to be honest. So, I feel like no harm, no foul there. Just relist your stuff after the fact. A major improvement from the migration, adapting ERC with 1,155 token standard money assets. This greatly improves the efficiency compared to the previous approach of minting each individual item and multiple identical items to share at one token ID. So the biggest way that I see this change happening, if you ever went into your profile and got frustrated because you had to use the filters. Because, like, say every individual shard or every individual essence or whatever takes up one spot in the Illuvidex. This does now allow them to actually just be stacked, which is just so much nicer. In theory, then, if you're going into the Illuvidex, and let's say if you were selling some shards or selling essences or something like that, maybe you can actually sell a batch of 20. This is me speculating a little bit, doesn't necessarily say this here, but in theory, this would open the door to actually being able to buy in bulk a little bit compared to just one at a time. All good for you, Zephyros? Awesome, awesome. Going good here as well. It is cold, but otherwise all is good. Now let's see. So the non-fungible tokens, so the things that'll stay individual, and honestly, it makes sense. Your alluvials, because each alluvial is its own individual character, and that's going to stay as one. You're not going to be able to stack that, for example. The Illuvitar is your profile picture, is 100% same idea, and same thing here with the lands. That all makes sense to me. But it'll be nice that you can stack like your Illuvitar accessories, the discs, if you have multiple of the same skin, your borders, shards, especially blueprints, that'll be nice. Essences, gems, yep. Your Chrome Blasts and armors and weapons. So being able to stack that will be quite nice, I'm not going to lie. And of course, things that don't actually fall into either of those categories. So that's your fuel packs and the biodata from your plots. None of that really truly gets affected, but does have to go through the migration anyway. And that basically breaks down the list here. So the big, I guess, notes here. Overall, it looks like, from a non-crypto guy, I'm just strictly talking about from a UI sense as a player. This does look like it'll be a little bit more convenient overall. I'm not sure necessarily about the back end side of things in regards to speed or anything along those lines, but just being able to stack shards, for example, that's quite nice. And I'll be looking forward to seeing what other features that Illuvium can work on now that it is on this new network, or on this new chain, however you want to talk about it. Because again, I'm probably using the wrong terminology because again, I'm not a huge crypto guy. But there, of course, has been talks about the MMO playtest as a part of the Discord announcement that Rich did come out and talk about with the zkEVM migration. It does mention that it is pointing towards a MMO playtest sooner not sooner rather than later, but very, very shortly after Overworld's closure. So with Overworld going down on the 26th, maybe we will see some sort of it's looking like a small private MMO playtest happening shortly after the fact. I know there is one actually before that as well with a much, much smaller squad. Your boy actually got the opportunity to be a part of said playtest as well. So can I actually talk about it? Not really. All I'll say right now is that when I do have the opportunity to hop in, I am enjoying my time. But that is all I can really say so far. In terms of this next load, this next small private test, the initial wave will be small, but will expand as we gather feedback. And again, a final thank you for those that explore the Overworld. And I know I'm definitely going to miss it. Overworld was essentially what brought me into Illuvium in the first place, that alongside Illuvium 0. The arena was honestly just a happy accident of sorts, and as somebody who didn't necessarily enjoy the auto battlers as a whole, I'm very, very happy with the way the arena turned out, and I'm very happy to thus be a part of this community as we continue on and keep on growing and keep on developing. So again, MMO playtest, you can probably expect some sort of announcement sometime after January 26th, once the Illuvium Overworld goes down. But how long after that, we don't know. Into our normal everyday weekly news here. So the arena recap, let's take a look and see what has been working in the arena over the last couple days, or last 7 days or so. I know personally, I've not played as much arena, but it doesn't mean I haven't been playing that much Illuvium, As I'll tell you what, with the announcement as well, or I was working on Illuvium videos, and then with the announcement about the Overworld going down, I had a project that I was kind of working on that involves using some Overworld footage, and to realize that I only had till the 26th to get certain recordings done, well, let's say it's kind of put me in a spot where I gotta work double time, otherwise I'll never be able to complete that project. So well, I've not been necessarily playing the arena, and I'll admit to that, haven't necessarily been playing that much. My match history will reflect that. It does not mean I'm not interested by any means, just tied up with other things. But in regards to the arena data, let's take a look and see where we're at. Hop on through here in just a moment, fix up the camera angle, there we go. Take a look at our augments here. Berserkers seem to be going nuts based off of imprints, but at the same time, not necessarily looking at the imprints for now, but taking a look at the infusing void reactor for the augment side of things, finding a much higher win rate compared to last week, actually surpassing the restorating impact reactor, which is kind of interesting. The arcane omega reactor, even though this thing got nerfed to actually gain 3 omega power every 5 seconds, it is still doing quite well, alongside the disruptive force reactor and the amplifying omega reactor, where you're just getting the raw omega power. So based off of this list, it seems like Scions are eating good today, but I'll have to see if that data actually corroborates here with the win rates based off the weapons to see what everybody ends up actually using. And well, just last week I was saying, Vinebound Cleaver, where did you go? Where did the Verdant Vanguards go? Well, they're right back on top now. It's been a couple of weeks off. They must have taken a vacation or something, because now they are right back into the top of the board here in regards to actually winning the game. The Verdant Vanguards, again, whether it be the Twine or whether it be the Gnarl, just having the lone tank of sorts while the rest of your rogues go nuts is a very strong way to play. Been a strong way to play for the longest time, and it looks like it's back to where it belongs. The Galewind Bow having a nice little jump up here alongside the Polar Bear and alongside what looks like Shock, oddly enough, because you do have the Monarch and the Rampfire also being shown as top bond alluvials, which is definitely interesting to see. Siddhartha, hello, good morning. Seems like alluvial prices have been rising. We'll take a look at that in a few minutes as well to see if maybe you're onto something. Marchina as well, hello, welcome. Good afternoon, there we go. I was gonna say my apologies if I couldn't understand what you just said, but I thank you for hopping in. There we go, good afternoon though, thank you. Thank you. Wish I knew more than one language. Definitely, maybe something to work on for myself. Elderwood staff going to be shown up in third, and it looks like it's actually alongside Aegis, oddly enough, and I can't even blame it on myself this time. So just bonding them up with the Blotto for some big Aegis plays, as well as toxic plays. It looks like they're either Toxic Aegis or Toxic Templar showing up here with the Elderwood staff. You got a 15% win rate here for the Aqua Blaster, and it is still some sort of Steam play, but it's not Steam Harbinger, oddly enough. It's Steam Invoker coming out here this time, whether it's the Steam Invoker with the Arctase, it looks like. You then do have Toxic Invoker potentially here with the Aqua Blaster, if you do manage to get the Fleesh in the nature affinity in your game, which can be quite fun. And then Dualef also being shown here for a little bit of Tsunami Invoker coming on through. So not necessarily the traditional alluvials we're seeing bonded with the Aqua Blaster, because it's usually just been like you see the Aqua Blaster and kind of turn your brain off and you know the player's going Umber. But no, it does not seem like that's actually necessarily the play all the time anyway. So it's cool to see. I might have to play around with that a little bit and try it out as an alternative Scion option. We then, last but not least, do see the Flameborn staff coming on through here with the main emphasis looking like being on Templar. We do see either the Rai or the Railu as their main partner in crime, alongside the Arctase, or maybe a little bit of Enchanter play as well. So a couple of different styles, a couple of the same weapons being up in the top 5, but not necessarily the exact same team compositions, which is kind of cool to see, I'm not going to lie. And then seeing the Galewind Bow shoot up there, that's definitely a surprise, but cool to see. And then the Vinebound Cleaver right in the top spot here this week. In terms of the most popular, it's pretty much the same idea, but you do have Elderwood Staff going up there, Galewind Bow in second, the Vinebound Cleaver being shown in third, the Strike Boomerang still getting plenty of use as well, and then last but not least, it's actually the Grove Sword, which is another alternative way to get Berserker onto your Monk here and your Rip Lance. Anything else to note here in regards to our stat? Let's take a look. Top 3, how's that look? Mud definitely having a bit of a fall off compared to the last 2 weeks that we've done this. Mud was basically a shoe-in for sure for a top 3 spot for the last little bit. Yeah, they've pretty much had a fall off, at least the top 2. We do see it in terms of the top 2 and top 3, so they're still making the list there. Same thing with the Boomerang. But in terms of wins, it's definitely something a little different. So either there's just a bunch more rogues now coming on through, or there's somebody out there who's just absolutely godlike with rogues. Soda, are you playing ranked at all? Because this very well could be the case where there's just one rogue player who's very, very, very strong. With that, let's take a look real quick before we make the switch over. Take a look at the drone augments. Or not the drone augments, but our suits most being used. I have this on win rate. I want to see completion, because I want to see, or I kind of want to see them both. Hunter's Precision still being shown as the best suit augment. That's where you give a unit true sight and attack range. Is very, very good. Life Bond Step, where you blink at 50% health. Very, very strong. Still holding in the top 3. Ironclad Blessing, where you're just getting damage reduction. Quite nice if you have your ranger up with your tanks, or heck, even up with your backline as well. It's just overall value no matter what. Every third attack getting attack damage here for Deadeye's Wrath, and the Symphatic Shot or the Omega Power Burst on every single Omega rounds up your top 5. How does that change if we do look at popularity in terms of uses? Not necessarily too many change. We do have Echo of the Fallen, though, showing up here, where the Omega Power and attack damage is given when one of your allied Illuvials fall. And then Temporal Flare, where every second Omega, you get a bunch of attack speed in a radius, perfect for a little bunker comp. Being used quite a bit, but not necessarily translating as much in terms of the win rate. And then it seems to be kind of cut off here on my list here, but I'll very quickly take a look at the drone augments that are being used as well. Threefold power being shown in the top of the board in terms of win rate, 75% chance or 75% win rate. And I mean, if rogues are going up, so is threefold power. It's basically, you got a lot of your carries for rogues in that tier 3 slot, so that's absolutely perfect. Refresh the flow showing up here as well, getting 15% of energy cost back, as well as offensive boost, solid start, and second wind. Let's take a look now at our leaderboards to see who exactly is making the come up here. And this one, I blame Silent. Hello, Gear, good morning. Let's take a look who's leading in terms of the gauntlet. Right now, it is still Junior 3, once again, in the lead of the entire world in terms of the ranked leaderboard, followed up by Aflog, followed up by Bond Daddy Ratty. That top 3 has not changed, but we might have a little bit of changes here in the next little bit. Nocacho in 4th, Hector making all the way up to 5th with Warrior Ace, Dr. Spoon, Goofy Rampfire, Nick's Hype, Lars. There's me, there is Never Lose, falling down a little bit from last week. We have Web3 as well, going down a little bit. Ballistics, Nocturnal, IG with them Benjamin, Martina, there we go, they were just in chat, making it into the top 20, congrats there. Rysera making their way as well, put into the work to get into the top 20 as well. Followed up in the top 20 here by Psy Forcer and Kirito Hype. Now, if I recall correctly, there is still the leaderboard for fuel burning happening for this week here. So I believe we'll see in just a moment's time the next snapshot. So in just over 8 hours time is the final snapshot for your Illuvium 0 fuel burn rewards until it takes the 2 to maybe 3 week break until the migration is complete and the rewards, in theory, should come back. As of right now, we see Sergio leading the charge here by a long shot. 185k compared to 100k here with Teresa. Bora, Metarik, Finn and Willow, Draknyan, we have Genius Khan, Kaimax, Down 9, Opossum Hype, Junior 3, Jason, Jub, Agent J, Gear LOL, Exuberant Ramp Fight, Confident Pyrie, Assuming Malura, Von Ruden, and Geomary, rounding up our top 20 here for Illuvium 0 based off of fuel burning. But of course, you still have the opportunity to do one final burn here. You just have about 8 hours to get that done before the snapshot comes on through. Then start stacking your fuel because you'll have a couple of weeks off from the rewards. That basically ramps things up here for the leaderboards that I want to take a look at right here, right now, which will get us into probably one of the more popular topics here of the weekly show. And of course, that is your top sales here in the Illuvidex. What have people been actually buying in the last little bit? We can take a look very quick here at the Scoriox app, Scoriox-stats.app to go through and see what is happening in regards to that. Or actually, I'm ahead of myself a little bit. We'll catch Scoriox's app here in the Illuvidex Recap. But top sales, this part I can do on the Illuvium website, and we'll fire on over right here, right now. Taking a look at our top 6 here in the Illuvium arena. It's a little bit of a cheaper week overall, with the cheapest alluvial, or the most expensive alluvial rather, being sold at $100 USD. But it is this Umber. I do want to take a look at this entire squad now. This is actually being picked up here by Draknyan. Going to be picking up this Umber, and to be honest, it is so close to perfect. It just needs a little bit more health to be an absolute menace. But you're making a push for the arena. I would understand why someone would want to pick up the Umber. We've seen in the IPL how absolutely devastating these things can be. And this was actually fused by Golid. So an absolute beautiful fused alluvial. This Umber going to lead the charge here over the last 7 days in terms of top sales. But let's take a look at everything else as well. Riplance being sold here for 87, also being picked up by Drak. And this one just missing a little bit of resistances and a little bit of movement speed. That is not bad at all. It's already level 60 as well. That is going to be an absolute devastating Riplance to try and have to deal with. Fused by Miquan, if I'm saying that properly. So a fantastic fusion, and it's awesome seeing it pay off. I imagine whether it be in the MMO one day or in the arena, this will make for an absolute beautiful partner. Congrats, Drak, there on those last 2 pickups. Is that it, or did you go on a little bit of a spree and you're going to pick everything up? Let's take a look maybe at this Monarch here instead. No, this one's actually going to Junior. Silent not top 10 anymore. No, I did essentially take a little bit of a break from the arena, not because I wanted to, but because I had some videos to work on. And then upon the announcement of the Overworld Closing on the 26th, there was a bunch of footage I had to record before Illuvium Overworld went down. And let's say it kind of forced me to expedite that a little bit more. But if the opportunity arises, I'll hop back into the arena and I'll make my way back up there as soon as possible. In regards to this Monarch, so Junior 3, this is your ranked leader going to be picking up this absolute beauty with loaded up attack speed and attack damage, Omega power as well. This is an offensive masterclass coming on through here from this Monarch. It's only missing a little bit of resistances and a little bit of health, but overall, a beautiful Monarch. 96 TPI onto this one. So not only do I have to worry about Junior's Mud Team, I now have to worry about Inferno Arcanite. Lovely. Look, good to see there. Congrats, Junior. Did you happen to get any more here, I wonder? Let's take a look. That was our top 3, but how about... We have 2 Scorioxes here. I'm curious to see who picked this one up. Junior as well. Yep, if you're going Inferno Arcanite, this is the squad for it. And very similar scenario. Offensive powerhouse here. Doesn't have movement speed, but that's okay. Scoriox does not care about moving. It just wants to shoot from afar. Absolute beauty here. Just missing a little bit of HP, and it would honestly be a perfect Scoriox. Incredible pickup and nicely done there. Junior, congratulations. How about the Goliath? Is this also going to be Junior, I wonder? Let's see. No, this actually got burnt to try and fuse for an incredible Titanor, I imagine. And I can see why. It basically has perfect stats with the exception of its health. So, best of luck. It won't let us see exactly who fused it, I don't think. Or let's see. Actually, no, it can actually show us here who did try to make the alluvial. It did end up going to Pashok from Monarch. I'm very, very curious. If I chase down their profile, can I see that Titanor? Oh, could this have oh no. Oh, if this is how it turned out, I am actually so sad. It was fused. I imagine this would have to be it. And of course, that's the problem, or not the problem, but the risk you sometimes take. Yeah, this, unfortunately here, this Titanor, I mean, it's still solid. It's still way better than mine, don't get me wrong. And you've got the max resistances, so I mean, we'll take that. That's not terrible in its own right. But I imagine they were hoping for a little bit more in terms of health. And it looks like it kind of kept the health from the Goliaths that did end up getting fused. So, unfortunate here for Pashok. Still congrats on having that Titanor, but I'm sure you're pushing for a little bit more. And I gotta say, that was kind of cool. I'm kind of glad that we can see where those alluvial fusions kind of went. Last one here on our top 6 is another Scoriox. This one getting picked up by Drac. Similar scenario, but just missing a little bit of Omega power to truly be that pure DPS powerhouse, but still going to be an absolute phenomenal one. 92 TPI. Congrats again there, Drac. In regards to Illuvium 0 over the last 7 days, let's take a look and see what we got here. This is kind of surprising here. So the top one that we're seeing right here, right now, is this tier 3 from Brightland Steps going for 347. But what I'm more alarmed at, a tier 4 plot going for only 317. That seems incredibly surprising here to me. It's owned by, okay, it's just a wallet address. So a tier 4 for that cheap? Don't know who that is, but congratulations, because that is an absolute steal in my opinion. My goodness. We do see a couple more plots being picked up here. Majority tier 3s being the ones picked up, with the most expensive one being this one at 347. Now currently being owned by Killer2214. And just to wrap up our top 3, let's see how this Taiga Boreal one. This one's going to Lars. So congratulations to everybody for picking up your new plots. Hopefully we can get them up and running nice and swiftly. I'm sure because those are all tier 3s that you won't find the block or the bottleneck that a couple of us lower tier players end up having to find up with. So enjoy the time building up that city. Would love to see what they look like in the future. But with that, let's take a look here in just a moment's time at our Illuvidex Recap. So we're just talking about Illuvium 0, so we'll talk about that right off the rip here once again. And this is in regards to the amount of plots traded. So only 17 being traded over the last 7 days, that being essentially cut in half compared to last week. And with that, the volume of the trades going down rather considerably as well. Oddly enough, it says that there's no tier 4 trades happening, but we did see the one on the Illuvidex. Maybe the timing is just ever so slightly changed compared to, or maybe not synced up rather. With tier 1s and 2s being main ones, but we can see across the board, it's just been a rather quiet day for Illuvium, or a quiet week for Illuvium 0, which again, I kind of understand, because you really have to have the mindset of going with the long run with Illuvium Zero, considering again, that is the support game for a game it's the support game for a main title that has not actually come out yet. So those that are absolute diehards, kind of like myself, who really want to eventually have the optimal or the top level Illuvium MMO experience, gonna be going for the Illuvium Zero. But in terms of just kind of getting into it now, it seems to be few and far between, and that's okay. We'll get there eventually. In terms of Illuvials, let's take a look now at what's going on, and this is much different kind of nature. We are seeing a 64% increase compared to the last 7 days, with over 2,000 Illuvials being traded over the last 7 days, not necessarily reflecting in terms of the value of said Illuvials, but there is at least more trades happening over the last 7 days, with which looks like total trades wise, it is going to be almost a tie actually between water and fire Illuvials, with the biggest increase looking like it being towards the water side with an 84% increase, and having the highest volume in terms of the value of these Illuvials. And I wonder which ones those are going for. I mean, we did see the Umber, for example, in our top sales of the week, and I wonder if we're seeing a lot of that as well. Very, very curious to see, and how that ends up going forward as well. The next top one in terms of volume seems to be nature Illuvials. While they aren't having as many trades, they're still pretty valuable, with about 384 in terms of 7-day trade volume. Let's take a look at maybe some scarcity though, however, with our tier 1 Illuvials. So let's start off with tier 0 actually. I know for the last couple, I've kind of given tier 0s the very, very end. And let's take a look and see, we need to get our purity levels. Oh no, that's levels. I need trait purity. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for fighting fit Illuvials, which to me is about 85 and higher on the list. Let's take a look and see what we have here. As of right now, there is absolutely no fighting fit Illuvials for any of the air typos, any of the earth typos, any of the fire. Okay, there's just no fighting fit typos, period. I'm a ding dong. I'm looking at owned. Let's look at listed instead here. Getting a little bit of a headache, so bear with me for a second. I just absolutely squandered everything there. Let's redo that. So up with the air typos, we have 17 of the babies, 4 air, and just the 1 exalted. 3 exalted earth typos, only 4 of the greater earth ones. We can see it's still lots of single digits, no exalted fighting fit fire typos this time. And then in terms of the grass side of things, again, single digits, only the 1 exalted typo available for it being possibly fighting fit. Fix that up real quick. There we go. How about our Dokas? Is it looking any different? No, pretty much the same idea. So single digits across the board here for a final possible push. Again, you only have until the end of the weekend, essentially, to find some of these Illuvials out in the wild. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck ripping packs to try and get there. And I'm not even sure if you can find high TPI Illuvials in an auto drone run. So to get some fighting fit tier 0s, the time seems to actually be running out a little bit. Let me take a look here at our bulwarks then, just to get the confirmation. Of course, lots of tier 0s. You got to sort it out a little bit. Yeah, it's still very, very scarce here, with only 2 and then 1 on the air side of things. You got 5 of the greater earth Grokos, but still no exalteds. Fire looks like it's doing okay for the earlier stages, but just the 1 exalted, and to be fair, it's a dark hollow 1 at that. I'm very curious. What are they trying to sell that thing for, I wonder? 314 bucks for a dark hollow fighting fit exalted Grokko, or fire Grokko, would be absolutely crazy, but I get it. They're scarce right now, 100%. Same here on the nature side of things. And yeah, there's just like 1 or 2 Exalteds at all being listed, if that. And then on the greater side of things, it's still single digits as well. So maybe a final push of sorts here before the overworld does end up inevitably closing down. Should probably have a couple of tier 0 runs in the mix. Let's take a look at our tier 1s. I still have it labeled as Bulwark. Hang on a second here. In terms of fighting fit tier 1s, we do have plenty on the axolotl side of things here. Over 85 Axodons actually being shown here. So they're doing just fine. Maybe on the Apon side of things here for Exalteds, it's getting a little bit low. But looks like the Kuka line is doing just fine. The Chuko line looks like they're doing just fine as well. I would not be too concerned in terms of scarcity until I see something under 50, or at least getting close to 50, which we do see here with the Exalted Monk here. Of course, the carry of a mud team is going to be absolutely critical, and we can kind of see that reflecting with how many fighting fit ones are actually available. Red pandas look a-okay. I mean, I guess the Riley is a little bit low with 65, but not too terrible. Same thing here with the Sepphoris. How about for our Gorillas? Round up our tier 1s. It looks like they're doing just fine overall. So, healthy amount of tier 1s available for the marketplace. So inevitably, when the overworld does go down, it looks like if you're trying to pick up a fighting fit tier 1, you're going to still be in fine shape. You can still absolutely do that if you just want to buy directly through the marketplace. Lynxes is a different story though. We are seeing the tier 2s all completely below 50, with what looks like the virtuous lynxes being the most sought after, with only 27 left available, and actually the rest are pretty short to follow in the 30s, with the Bulwarks being the most available here at 44. But if you start taking a look at some of these tier 3s, that's where we know the scarcity starts to show up, considering there are so many different types of lynxes. It is definitely unfortunate that you can't like guarantee that you're going to find your favorite lynx in each game, and you have to kind of treat it like a tier 0. You never know what you're going to get, and with that, having so many different types, you can see the scarcity across the board. Basically, if you find a fighting fit lynx of essentially any type, you will be in for a quite a treat, because you can see every single one seems to be in the single digits in terms as to what is listed. Very quickly, just going to click on this nature lynx and kind of get an example of what we're looking at price-wise. I don't imagine it being too high, but I'd be pleasantly surprised. I mean, about one little outlier here for just under 10 bucks, but everything else is at least looking at 15 or higher. And given the scarcity, given that the overworld's about to go down, there is the potential that those might find some more value for those who like to play that way. But again, not financial advice. I don't want to pretend like I know what I'm talking about in that regard. How about our tier 3s? For the tier 3s, let's take a look here. Fighting fit versions here of our tier 3. So far, looks like the Anteater's doing pretty much a-okay with being above 50. Only the Vermilier seems to be hurting just ever so slightly near that 50 mark. Winx is out in the same position here, just above 50 here for the Gazatep. We do have for the Heady line, they're looking pretty healthy as well, with only the main Komodo dragon here, with just the Blotto being the one hurting a little bit, with about 45 left on the market currently. And then, yeah, this is kind of what we expected here, again, in regards to the rogues here. So we saw the uptick in Verdant Vanguard, and we're seeing the uptick in terms of scarcity with our penguins. In terms of fighting fit penguins, the fact that there's under 100 of the baby slap-ins, for example. Stab-ins is right around that 50 mark, and then even slash-ins, only 22 available. How does that translate with the rest of our tier 3 carries here? We're seeing something kind of similar happen here with the Poodle Moth line here, with Ace and Monarch, of course, in particular. Under 100 Aces available that are considered fighting fit, and then 30 Monarchs that are fighting fit available as well. Hop on over into the Riplance, and it's basically a very, very similar tale. 30 Riplances available, considered fighting fit. With our Verdant Vanguards, how's that going to affect the Gnarl? It's not too bad, just about at that 50 mark, 49 currently in the shop. Then we do have Malura, also a big part of that Verdant Vanguard spot being a Vanguard themselves, just under 50 available. Not hit as hard, anywhere near as hard as the Slash-In, but if Rogues decide to get an uptick in terms of playtime, that very well might change. How about our tier 4s? Or I didn't take a look at a price actually. Let's see. If you want to get a Slash-In right now, what are you looking at? And it's not even that bad considering the scarcity, honestly. We do see the fully evolved Slash-In fighting fit you can pick up for under $6 as of this moment. But it does shoot up rather quickly. There's maybe about, what, 5 of these Slash-Ins that are under $15, and then it starts to spike pretty shortly afterwards, up to 30 once we get past that point. So Slash-In, we always knew how good you were. If it wasn't the Umber terrorizing the arena, it was definitely a Slash-In. So God forbid competitions start rolling around eventually, I expect to see way more penguins. Let's take a look at our tier 4s. Of course, much harder to find here. I'd argue the scarcity is around that, say, the 40 mark here for tier 4, since they are a little bit harder to find. And we're seeing even the baby mammoth, for example, is just under 70 available in terms of fighting fit ones, with 20 fighting fit fully evolved mammoths available. How about our Seers and the flare line? Not looking too shabby in regard, or actually no, actually much lower rather than the mammoth, down to 52 available. Translates over into 22 Seers being available here. And let's take a look at the price of that one. Of course, one of your big tanks, especially for Umber players out there. You love getting your Ranger with the Aqua Blaster attached to this thing to get Steam Harbinger online. You can still pick up a Seer here for 25, a fighting fit one anyway. 25 the floor for that one. But how about the polar bears? We did see last week a big sale there for a Jotun, for Ephraim actually ended up picking up one. And now we're seeing about 25 still listed on the market for being fighting fit. Take a look at the floor here of that one. One of the air unit, or one of the air team's big carries here, possibly Behemoth alongside the Seer as well. Floor showing as $20, but quickly jumping up into the 30s right after that. How about Blazonite? We're starting to maybe see a few more entered the marketplace. I feel like we were in single digits a couple weeks ago with this thing, but again, still rather scarce with under 15 available. Blazonite, where does that translate in terms of marketplace? It's the Wildfire Empath kind of players out there, similar in nature, about a $21 floor here for a fighting fit Blazonite. So the scarcity not necessarily translating into price as of right now, which for players is a good thing. For your scalpers out there, or your play to earn focus players, you're probably not having a great time though. Little baby Pyre, let's see how you're doing. In this instance, we did see Scorioxes being sold a little bit. Get the little baby Pyre for about $3 or so, so nothing to write home about there. But what about when we get towards the Scoriox, the big corner carry of sorts here, with only 28 currently in the market being labeled as fighting fit? I do want to take a look at that real quick. Are they in the 20s as well? In the upper 20s is looking like you can get a Scoriox for about 27 currently. How about the rakes? Of course, I know I'm personally very high on the rakes and on umbers, considering how well we've seen them do in Arena, and I personally think that they are going to be a dominating force whenever the Battle Royale kind of game does end up coming out. So I want to see what they're at right now. This, of course, is a rake. This is the middle stage evolution here for the Umber. So currently being shown at $6, quickly jumping into 12 and 15 and onward. How about the Umber themselves, though? With 19 currently listed, Umber, of course, was our top sale of the week at just over $100. To get an Umber now, though, you're going to need to pay up at the very, very minimum for a fighting fit Umber. You're looking at about 40. Quickly diving into 50s and 70s onward. I imagine that people at least close to the game that follow the competitive side of things might be holding on to them, and I do not blame them. Last but not least, the Geyser with only 9 available. Not necessarily anybody's favorite Alluvial, but he's a chill guy. And this chill guy is going to net you about 62 as of right now to find yourself a fighting fit Geyser, or I say fighting fit, but let's be honest, he doesn't really do much fighting himself now, does he? More so just kind of tanking and letting everybody else do the swinging. It just provides the heals. Last but not least, here on our Illuvidex Recap, let's take a look at our Tier 5s. The hardest Alluvials to find, of course, in the game, and likely going to translate into the most valuable Alluvials here on the marketplace. I'm very, very curious to see how this goes. We did see the Titanor attempt here from Pashok earlier from the top sales. Didn't necessarily turn out. It ended up being a 61 Titanor. But you can see what they were trying to go for. If you get yourself a fighting fit Titanor, you're talking about a couple hundred here. You have 150 at the very, very minimum, going quickly into the 200s or the 300s. In terms of the Goliaths, I do want to take a look at the middle stage evolution as well, because this is where most people end up getting anyway. Very rarely do you make it all the way to Titanor, but you do get to Goliaths pretty consistently. And $30 to find yourself a fighting fit Goliaths, not too shabby, but will it stay that way for long? I'm not quite sure, because of how few there actually are. God forbid a tournament announcement comes up. I can see these being scooped up extremely quickly. I'm not trying to shill it. I'm not trying to make it buy stuff or anything along those lines. I'm just thinking in terms of a competitor. As a player myself, if I were trying to aim to win a tournament and get fighting fit Alluvials, this is the kind of mindset that I'm coming from here. Adorito, the middle stage evolution here for the Ador, the Adorius. At the very, very minimum, fighting fit's going to net you about 50. And how about the actual Adorius as well? Only 6 being listed, only 10 fighting fit Adors as well, so not very many of the baby form here either. And at the very, very minimum here, you do see this Adorius for just under 100, and currently being sold here for 94. Definitely an outlier compared to the multi-hundreds that everybody else is asking for. We do seem to have another Dual F on the market. For the last 2 weeks, there's only been one available, where it was a 90 plus TPI holo that was going for about 18K, which was very, very unlikely to see. But we do see another newcomer. In fact, it's better in terms of TPI. This thing is a perfect Dual F, because it doesn't have movement speed, but it doesn't matter. It just stays still. This is actually a beautiful, perfect Dual F being sold here by Sir Dexter from Monarch. And that was off of a fusion. Holy smokes, congratulations on that one. A perfect Dual F. That thing is beautiful, going for 1.1K currently. Congrats on that fusion. That is absolutely incredible. We've seen a fusion nightmare, and we've seen an absolute Disneyland fusion here today and this week in Illuvium. Love to see it. How about Sinolf? Let's take a look here on the Sinolf side of things. You can find a floor for Fighting Fit ones. That's about 70. And given that this is a teammate with the Umber for a water squad, I imagine the demand there is going to be, or rather consistent. People are still going to want them, that's for sure. If we take a look at the Pterodactyl line, so the ramp fight in particular is the one that most people are going to be able to get their hands on, or in terms of a late game scenario. Yes, you'll get Rampy, of course, but you're probably not going to put Rampy in until you at least get Ramp Fight. To pick up a Fighting Fit Ramp Fight right now, you're looking at about 76 bucks. And again, quickly going on up. How about Ramp Fire? One of the big daddies of burst damage with under 10 available currently in the shop that are actually Fighting Fits. At the very, very minimum, we're looking at multi-hundreds once again, 237 at the very minimum. And that one doesn't even have attack damage. Damn. For the Scion players like myself that love themselves the Squiz line, let's take a look and see an Octius with 13 Fighting Fit ones available. This is probably the cheapest tier 5 that I've seen in a little bit here. 21 for this Octius. That does, I think, is that maxed out on Omega? Pretty close. So, level 4 Omega, not bad still at all. But you can still easily find yourself some Fighting Fit Octiuses as of this moment. We'll take a look at a Fisto as well. See where we get from there. Only 5 currently listed here on the Illuvidex. And at the very minimum, you're looking at about 166 for a Fighting Fit Fisto. I know I'm very, very thankful that I got mine for maybe 10 bucks, but at the same time, it's only a TPI 50. But at least it's all maxed out on Omega Power, which is kind of where I need it to be anyway. How about Terrorbird? Our final tier 5 here for today. We do see only 6 of them listed in regards to the Phosphorus. And that is quite a steep jump here. As of right now, there is one for 47. But as soon as that Alluvial's gone, which I imagine this one is going to disappear extremely quickly, currently held by PLG off of a fusion attempt. It's still a beautiful Phosphorus at hand, but as soon as that thing is gone, we can see a massive jump up into the almost $400 for a Fighting Fit Phosphorus. So, definitely a little bit of an outlier there, and that'll wrap up our Illuvidex recap here for this week. So it's a very, very interesting time because with all these alluvials being like relatively scarce in regards to at least finding a Fighting Fit one, that is making things a little bit awkward because if, God forbid, a tournament happens between Overworld being done or Overworld being closed and the MMO coming out, which God knows how long that's going to end up being. If a tournament comes out and people want to aim for the win and get themselves their best case scenarios for alluvials, they're gonna have to turn to the automated drone runs, which is definitely a little bit of a risk in its own right. Or you can just outright buy off the market, because otherwise there's no more alluvials able to be made. And of course, while the overworld is down as well, that means that fusing is going to be gone as well until I imagine the MMO comes back out, or if they have a new system for it. I'm not exactly sure how it ended up going. But all the fusing was done in Overworld, so if Overworld closes, that means that, in theory, you can't fuse either. Last on the docket here, we seem to be going a little bit faster compared to past times. So after we go through our community wrap-up, I'll probably hop in and snag a arena game or two in to fill up the rest of stream time. But of course, last but not least, we do have the community. I do want to give a big shout out to those that have been streaming and making videos with Illuvium content. I don't like feeling like I'm the only one sometimes. I know I might be the most consistent, but I want to see more, because at the end of the day, when I'm not streaming and I'm working, I want to be watching something Illuvium as well. And we do have a couple of people to give some shout outs to in this week. First and foremost, on the Twitch side of things, it is still just myself alongside Big Man JB. Big Man still keeping on the Illuvium grind. Good to see for the third week in a row making the list here. And then on to the YouTube side of things, we do have a couple as well. Of course, Scoria is going to be talking about the risk to earn game mode and how this will apparently save Illuvium for about this umpteenth time, only for maybe another video to come out a little bit later about how we're dead and whatnot. But I mean, tis is the YouTube algorithm. It is the way to go. Play it well, my friend. But still, of course, Scoriac's fantastic creator in their own right. Don't get me wrong. Crypto Quick Chat going to be doing their own streams. They did a couple. I think they did one yesterday and they did one today about their last chance Illuvium Overworld grind. And good to see. So Drac, not only on the grind in regards to picking up some stuff in the Illuvidex, but also looking for some Illuvials in a last chance scenario. And Squareox, once again, of course, we didn't have the download last week. I unfortunately got sick right beforehand, unfortunately. But they did do the episode. Is there an episode tomorrow? I am not quite sure as of yet, and I have not gotten the announcement. So I will not put words into Squareox's mouth for him by any means. We do see a stream regular here. Squawk also going to be doing a stream a couple days ago there of their Arena and Overworld runs. Illuvium's got their shorts going, of course, as well. Gloss over my stuff and whatnot. Wookie Gaming, that's a new face here for me personally. Looks like a newcomer to the Illuvium scene. Hello, welcome. And we do have our usual suspects in regards to play to earn side of things. Not going to give them really any attention, exception of this one here though, because I do want to give the shout out here. They're talking about is Illuvium profitable and how to earn money. Normally I would be like, okay, pay to earn, whatever, move on. But this is Fury Hype. Fury's era, that's Fury Hype, which of course is one of our Illuvium Pro League top performers over the last season. So I'm very, very curious. I might have to go check that out myself with that one and maybe put my play to earn biases aside on that one. Anything else in regards to new content creators? Almost near the bottom here. Nightmare Gaming looking like a newcomer here with Illuvium as well. Good to see newcomer also just streaming right off the rip. Zerber, of course, is another newcomer actually, who's been on an absolute grind focusing on their alluvial collection. And I mean, no better time to do that as well, considering, of course, the overworld goes down in about 4 days or so. But focused on overworld hunting and getting their collection built up. It's been good to see and good to watch them. I might have been lurking in a few streams or so. Definitely check them out as well. And they've been doing it relatively consistently as well. It's the second stream I've seen of theirs. And that rounds up the filter here for the community tab over the last 7 days. So it's awesome to see. We do see some new content creators coming on through. New people, or even if they're not necessarily trying to be content creators, but just like streaming their runs. And I love to see that. I love hanging out with everybody while they're doing their runs, whether it be an arena, overworld, or what have you. Definitely love to see it. I always have a content creation bar open on Discord as well, always looking for new people to watch. So awesome to see everybody coming on through here. But with that, that is the end here of this week in Illuvium. The stream's going to continue for a little bit longer. I went much faster than I was expecting. So we will close things up on the news side of things, but we will actually play the game here in just a moment's time. I did fall out of the top 10 in rank. Maybe it's time to try and fight for it back a little bit. Of course, big thank you to everybody for tuning in and watching This Week in Illuvium. It seems to be something that at least a handful of people have messaged me saying they look forward to it, and I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm getting faster at it too, so it lets me squeak in This Week in Illuvium and then do an arena run or something along those lines. Unless there is something super, super major to talk about. Like I know last week we did the risk to earn document analysis. That took up pretty much the final half of the stream. But nothing like that here for this week. So we'll hop in and start battling in just a couple of minutes time here. Just loading it up. And that coffee's not even that old and it's already freezing. It's just so cold today. Hope everybody else is staying safe, staying warm. And just gotta double check myself to make sure I actually opened the right version of Illuvium. Oh yeah, that's my main character. Okay, we're good. Yeah, that'd be a little bit rough, you know, just casually doing stream and stream the wrong version of Illuvium. That'd be a nightmare. But here with the news portion down, let's switch up the music to something that I'm used to. Wake me up a little bit. Alright, let's get into the swing thing. As of right now, I'm currently 11th. It's actually Lars that passed me relatively recently, it looks like. And I'm about 2 games behind them. They'll probably hang on, regardless of how well I end up doing. I could win 2 games and probably still be behind them, but we'll give it a shot. Get some last minute EXP gain here for some of my alluvials before we end up having the break for the migration. Close some of those tabs there so we can run a little bit quicker. All is well. Big man, how's it going? We were just singing your praises a second ago there in the community section. Going well, how are you doing? Okay, I think we're all situated here now. And of course, they did make a change in regards to the queue times as well. Before, the extra players or the bot players would take a little bit, or not take too long, they would hop in too quickly and fill the lobby even though there was players playing. So it's definitely slowed down a little bit, but it's okay, we're chilling. I'm in no rush. And of course, I'm absolutely open to stream sniping as well. I do not take any offense if I see you in the chat and then see you in the game at the same time. That is a-okay. Got nothing to hide. If anything, it's given me practice about playing against people that have an idea of what I'm trying to do. I mean, if you've watched me play for a little while, you probably know my kind of play styles anyway. It's not like I randomly throw out Rogue or something very often, unless it happens to be Abyssal Basin and the composite chips kind of force me in that direction. Because yeah, if it does, I'm probably in for a world of hurt, because my Rogue squad is not very good. One thing that was brought to my attention was in regards to the Illuvium Discord. This isn't necessarily an announcement or whatnot, but they do have the area where you can give community feedback in regards to how you want something to be handled, with one of them that did just recently go out actually being in regards to the MMO itself. And I'm curious as to how everybody here would think about it, because this one, there was a proposal that was given out here, looks like it's by Filky, in regards to the Illuvium MMO. So if this thing was a, let's say, because of course this is an MMO light, right? So it's not going to be a full-on, like, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, multi, like, 100 hours kind of gameplay thing. But if it's about, say, 20 hours of gameplay, they say having the MMO light at about $15 as a price point just to get in. So it's not a subscription, but it's just the flat rate of 15. You get access to everything, of course, and whatnots. But afterwards, there would be the DLC packs for the extra regions at, say, about $10 each, adding about another 15 hours of gameplay. Fuel would be used for in-game currencies, but at the same time, it'd just be mostly for, or only for, cosmetic skins and visual customization, so it's not paid to win. And then Web3, of course, is completely optional. So I'm curious what everybody would think about if you'd like to drop an opinion on it. So the Illuvium base game for the MMO being, say, a flat $15, but then eventually having expansions afterwards that you'd have to pay for to get to new regions, new stories, new raids, and that kind of stuff. How do y'all think about that? Because I know, at least personally, I don't mind that. What it kind of reminds me of is Destiny 2's business model. Or at least Destiny 2, they do free-to-play, but then, or free-to-play for the base game. But then if you want to go into the next areas, there is expansions, but you can kind of pick and choose which expansions you want to go to. But granted, the game's also been around long enough that that could be an option. But I think that could be interesting. Say, the 15 outright, and you get access to the first couple, or the first 2 areas and whatnot, get access to all the raids, all the content and whatnot. And then just have the expansions after the fact. I think I'd like it. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Full mud with Predator or Berserker really good right now. We have seen absolutely a ton of mud as of late. Can't wait to play the MMO. Just want to get an invite soon. Absolutely. Based off of the announcement that we did see, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Can't remember. But we did talk about it a little bit earlier in the stream. It seems like once the Overworld goes down on the 26th, once that closes, that's when they're going to start getting out the first small batch for that private invite for the playtest, with eventually expanding the playtest slowly but surely. So I imagine sometime again after the 26th. I wouldn't expect it to be on the 26th or anything like super fast, but I imagine maybe within the next month or two, maybe we can start seeing some bigger playtests for the MMO. I know I feel disingenuous not saying it, but I know at least I personally, before that playtest comes out, I have had the opportunity to be kind of like the pre-alpha, a pre-alpha tester. And all I will say on that, because I cannot actually talk about any sort of details or anything, but all I will say is that I am enjoying my time. That is all I can really say for now, and I look forward to when more and more people can get on in there. I know I absolutely lost it once I pop into a certain area and all of a sudden realize there's other people actually all around me. It was a extremely cool feeling. As a long-term Destiny player yourself, the concept works, but you need consistent new content, 100%. And with that as well, I do also stress that every single expansion essentially needs to have its own endgame. Because there's no guarantee that every single player would go for every single expansion. So, like, it might be nice that you have a story, for example. You do need your own endgame of sort. Leveling up your Illuvials as the end game should not be the end game. There should be some sort of raid boss or something that you have to go for. So I definitely hope something like that comes into fruition. That'd be really, really cool. But it would definitely need to be relatively consistent as well. I've just been kind of on cruise control. Funny enough, I had cursed I didn't want to see Abyssal Basin. We do find it right off the rip here, with round 15 being the composite chip, it looks like. We have a couple of options here. Let's take a look and see what the landscape looks like. You have Dr. Spoon in this lobby ready to put the hurt on me, I am sure. I didn't take a look at the rest of the lobby at all, unfortunately, to see who else is technically with me here. Spoon going for Earth, it looks like. I am going to let it time out. We're going to take the Mauler. As I see a plan in mind here. I blame Silent for the snow. What aren't you blaming me for, Gear? You're like my wife. No, I'm just kidding. No, God bless her. Oh, say his name and he appears. Dr. Spoon. I didn't even realize he was the person I was going up against. Absolutely wrecking me. Just teasing you, Gear. Teasing you back. Yeah, each DLC needs some sort of type of endgame and something to push for. Yeah. You absolutely cannot rely that leveling up is going to be good enough. If that makes sense. Okay, so Kara Blue, hello, welcome. What do I want to do? Percent? Potentially something like that. How are we looking? Now, GLHF 404, good luck, have fun, not found. Going to take me down, it looks like. I'm not even sure if it's a player or if it's a bot, but I know I've been kind of on autopilot. You can tell the rust is kind of showing up so far. I do need to get my team situated here. I've also stayed at level 3, but that is intentional. There we go. Lynx is here. Let's get you into the swing of things, why don't we? Turn you into a fighter with percent and additional speed. Omega. Engine. We'll get it situated something like this for now. Alkalitos is who I'm up against next. All level 1s, though. We should be able to run them down. And now let's get ready to clean the bench. Augments-wise, it went into my favor pretty well. I can't really complain too much about the squad that I do have. Additional links. There's links check. Who else has any? Just Doc has the one baby links, and that's about it. I mean, for what I'm thinking in my head so far, this might not be too bad. Because here's the thing. Big man mentioned mud. Well, I'm about to put my own spin on it here in just a second. I think I've done this before. But this could be really cool. There we go. Caradulo. Instead of that, let's do this. You take the health. Lynx is going to be my carry for the time being. Don't necessarily have the best option here for another engine user. Got Blink Dash, and then now we'll be basically at max interest in just a moment's time. Because majority of those alluvials want to dive at me, I'm just going to send my links directly in. Mess with the ranger quite nicely. Also, new abilities every couple DLCs could also bring the players back. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what we see in the traditional MMOs as well, right? You see a little bit of a slight adjustment or a slight addition to every class. Longer it goes on. Sometimes even brand new classes getting in here. I know, at least personally, I hope that the main classes are at least accessible right off the rip. Like, say, for example, if, say, Empath, I would love to see Empath become a thing. Get all of those, like, main ones, fighters, rogues. Would be cool to see that happen. Okay, Archie is here. Let's start rolling a little bit. I mean, I will need a heady. Do I win versus Spoon? I doubt it. Let's see how this goes. Need my gorilla to really start moving, though. Need those auto attacks to come on through. Being a nice little distraction so far. My Lynx is still relatively healthy. Does, of course, have the Restorating Impact Reactor on top of it. Find a couple eliminations, start to chop through the board, and there we go. We are going to be able to take out Spoon in this one. I was worried about losing my income streak. Well, we do still keep it. And taking a look at the Lynx, of course. My Nimble Lynx, it's just an all-around solid guy. Not superior anywhere, but not too bad. And of course, just a little level 30 compared to 60s. Okay, level 5, it is rolling time. Let's get a couple more pickups here. Gorilla, we'll probably take you. And drop the Rye, I'm not going to be using that. Could potentially find more Caradulos. Potentially do it that way. Up against Togo, that is a nasty bear. Okay. How do I want to handle that guy? I should have had my Caradulo over more. I was a little bit slow on the gun in that regard. But maybe if I'm lucky, my rogues, or not my rogues, but my units can focus the bear if I'm lucky, potentially. It's a lot to ask, though. My Lynx being tied up on that heady is definitely not doing a great job here for me. But Caradulo is still here. Here come the rogues, slowly but surely trimming down. Okay, good. Saves the Omega till after the stun, but now it's a 1v3. I don't think that I'm going to end up winning this one. Unfortunate there. But we'll leave it at that for the time being. Stun all enemies hit. I definitely like the idea of that. Okay, Lynx Part 2. R3, there's a gorilla here, not a gorilla, there's a monk here as well. I think I have maybe a little bit too much going on in terms of things I'm going after. Grip has the one greater monk here, but that's okay. Start looking for my mud units a little bit more. There we go. Something like this. There's another monk here. Apon I haven't even picked up at all yet, eh? Shoot. I'm gonna stay above 50. Okay, we will be able to clean that one up quite nicely. And why pick up the Lynxes while going for mud? So at least in my mind as of this moment, with the Lynx actually being the Earth or the Nimble Terra Lynx, it does fit in quite nicely with a mud team. And if, God forbid, a chip drops where it lets me have another mud unit, that would be absolutely incredible. Okay, there is my Archos finally showing up. Hello there, buddy. So we can supercharge our monk here. I'll turn my links into a Earth unit for now. A few more pickups here, so I now have the Crunk available for when I get my next level. And of course, level 15 is starting to show up, so I do want to make sure that I get some sort of mud unit, otherwise my chip is not going to go into the direction that I want it to. It's going to give me like Aegis or something, which I wouldn't be upset with another Aegis chip, but if it gave me like another Rogue chip, for example, that would be extremely frustrating. So I do need to actually roll a little bit. There is the Lynx. Hello, beautiful. Let's get you into the fight. We can then turn Caradulo into an Earth unit. That does make us now have 5 Earth units. Archos, take that. Let's make a supportive one. Not the one that I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for the one that gives me the immunity and attack speed. Okay, there's Apon. Another one of those. I'm going to try and stay around 50. That's a tease. I'm finding some of the other units that I don't necessarily want to level up right now. But we will get to see this Aegis buffed monk here really be able to start to take effect against some of these lower level targets. Hold their own quite nicely here. Even the Lynx, of course, absolutely shredding on through. Top DPS actually going to the Lynx. Maybe I Aegis buff that for a bit. Potentially one way to do it. What is Spoon going for? Of course, they have the Empath Staff, which I imagine are going to try and get tanky. Greater app on there. I see. Luminaries, let's scoop that up. That is the one that I was looking for. Maybe make you immune, and it'll go to either my Monkier or to my Lynx. Let's buff you up. The monkey short to follow, something like that. Gonna do another roll down. I'm very, very close to scooping up that Exalted Gorilla. There it is. So we do have Mud now online. One more roll for the Apon. I'll gladly scoop that up here as well. Definitely having some tough fights up ahead here. Gorilla, go dive bomb that Furiox, please. Furiox a level 1, so we should be able to chop it up quite nicely. Got a little bit of damage onto it, then escaping. Okay, good on Monk here to clean that one up, and there we go. Just going to absolutely swarm them down quite nicely. And the next round should hopefully, if it gives me another Mud component, that would be incredible. I would absolutely throw that onto my Lynx. And here it is, Composite Synergy. It got me it. Berserker's a thing too, though. No, let's go for Mud. The Lynx is now a Mud unit. Let's give the engine over to my Gorilla. And in just a moment's time, there is yet another Monkier. Right down to 50. Not quite enough just yet. We are getting there. We can get that Monkier up to Mud. That'd be incredible. So then I'd have the 4 Mud available, and I don't even have to necessarily worry about Apon. And I could really start to put the hurt on the opponents here in theory. And of course, I do have that Crunk ready and waiting. And we'll see. Is this going to be a squad that could maybe take out Togo? I mean, Togo did just go down. What did they go for here? Just mixture of nature and Empath Bulwark, yeah? Nature and fire here for Dr. Spoon. I'll take the other heady here. GLHF ready to be knocked out in just a second. I find another Apon, which is quite nice. Okay, if you're going to keep throwing me Caribloos like this, I can't resist. Right down and grabbing even one more. Maybe did one roll too many, but there is the potential of now finding Caradulox, which would make for an incredible tanky buff. I've been seeing Caradulos, or the Carablues, this entire time while I'm rolling, and I don't think that very many people are actually focusing it at all, so if I can pick that up just because, I'll gladly accept. Because as it stands right now, this squad is doing a fantastic job tearing on through. It seems to be a battle between my two rogues. The monkey, or not the monkeyer, it's actually the gorilla and the lynx leading the charge here in terms of damage. And heck, the gorilla isn't even built for damage as of this point. We do find another Carablu. I mean, it's right there. I might sell off the heady just to give some space. NPC round. I'm going to hang on for just a moment's time before making any more rolls. Get that influx in credits. Get myself back into maximum interest and start moving from there. Scoop these up. I'm tanking this. I don't mind that at all. Shield to max health. Sure, yes, please. Omega power potentially with Omnivamp. That might be quite nice. On Omega, gain attack speed. Resistance loss. Given that Doc has a tanky team, let's do resistance loss. Okay, Grilla, you take that. I did level up automatically, so I do have to worry about my app on now. Or do I? Could get Caradulo, or not Caradulo, a Crunk in here instead. Do have Monkeyer. One more greater Monkeyer to Exalted Monkeyer. Here we go. Now we're talking. 4 Mud now online. Oh, absolutely, completely right. The fact that all the stat stealing is percentage based makes it so beautiful since this Leviathan game mode kind of came on through, because even if you're the underdog with not perfect alluvials, you can at least steal the power from other people, like we're seeing right here, right now. Now that the Exalted Monkeyer is here, holy moly, it is shining. It needs to be my Aegis souped up one now, because look at that, over 10k damage. Just in that fight alone. Combat Rhythm is an absolute guaranteed pickup here as well. Let's change this up a little bit. Monkeyer, you are now going to be my Aegis buffed superstar. Grilla and Lynx, of course, you are still important here in this fight. Do I want to greed and go for Appon? I very well could. I have a feeling I can get the kill shot here onto Clevtalk. And is there any other Appon here other than that? There is Togo. Is that just a lesser? No, that is a greater. Let's see how many on the bench. None on the bench. I could absolutely do that then. Okay, let's see this fight ongoing here. Clevtalk, the bot, I think, did move their alluvials over, so my Monkeyer's not in a great position. But now we are cruising. The combat rhythm is flowing. And even though the Monkeyer's kind of been stuck waddling around a little bit, I imagine they'll get back to the top of these charts. Oh, just barely. Grilla's getting there as well. Doing quite well with them knocked out. I'm going to pick up the Scarabok. Pick up to Tofi as well now. Caradulox actually going to be now in the front line. Where is the Appon? Can we snag it? Yes, we can. Let's pick up to Tofi here as well. All extra interest is now going to go into the leveling process. And then Dr. Spoon going at it right here, right now. Well, how about I drop an Appon right in front of your entire squad and see if this 5 Mud Aegis squad can tear a hole through this shielded composition. Let's get a better angle if we can onto this impact. As of right now, the Monkeyer is kind of held, but they're kind of distracted with Grilla. Can Grilla make it out alive? One more shot goes towards the Blotto, and it's going to be able to escape for the time being. Both of my rogues extremely hurt. This leaves all of the damage now into the monk here, who happens to be frontlining. My tank is not in the right spot. We will end up falling here. Harry Dulock's doing a fantastic job of tanking, but at the same time just was not in the spot I needed it to. So it will end up going down for now. Let's level up to 7. I'm sure having the extra firepower is going to make this quite nice, especially if that firepower happens to be of the earth variety, giving me now 7 earth. Set myself up kind of like this for the meantime. Just got third in my last lobby. Noticed something they may want to share with the audience. Leveled up one of my owned hollow alluvials, like 6 to 8 levels in one match. Heck yeah, that's what I love about this change here with the Arena EXP. You can actually level up quite nicely now. It doesn't feel supercharged, but it feels right, and that's what I love to see. Definitely going to be missing when January 26th rolls around and the migration happens, and that's going to end up stopping EXP gain for at least a little bit based off of what we read earlier. Going to end up missing it, but as long as it comes back, I won't complain. And look at this fight here, the 7 earth. In fact, it's actually Grilla who's carrying in terms of damage. I did lose my monk here, but I still have the Lynx, the tertiary damage dealer of the squad, coming in clutch to lead that fight. Extra creddy going on over into levels. We're right around the corner from the next one here, level 8. Get another bulwark here in just a moment's time. Basically all I have to do, I feel like at this point, right, is I've got my carries. I just gotta level up and just get more bodies in front of my carries. Got a shield crate, which is going to be a nice pickup. Hollow stasis reactor, yes please. Level. Blotto. Come on in. We do have attack damage. How do I want to handle this one? What does this give? Snowball potential or just raw damage? Let's go for this one here for the snowball potential. I'm going to take their fighter buff from one, move to the other. Throw Omega Power onto my Archos for now. I'll eventually move that over to, I think, the Tianti. If Togo does end up falling, that does open up the door here for a couple more headies. So I can go for potentially another Aegis unit. And then the app on the mud effect on Omega as well. So yep, that's absolutely perfect as well. Absolutely. I think it's 7 Earth needs a big buff right now since damage is so high. I'm sure the mitigation does feel like maybe it's fallen off a little bit. The one thing I am happy about is the reflective damage that it does provide, because it's doing me quite nicely as of this moment. Togo, one away from getting knocked out here. Do they really have anything that I want? Not necessarily. Let's put our extra creddy into levels once again, going up against Dr. Spoon. Last time Caradulox didn't really tank much, and it caused a bit of a problem. I think this lineup is fine. If I throw one more level and potentially maybe throw an additional bit of backup here with a Scarabok. Can I break this corner? Let's see. Now Caradulox is actually tanking this time. Good stun from the little Scarabok to get the job done for at least a little bit. Monk Ear's released safe. Grilla is not, though. It is going to get one more Omega down before dying at least. But the Ranger is exposed, my Link is exposed, but my Monk Ear is continuing to just slug away. Get that Tiru down, though. Or not the Tiru, that's the Riley, or Rylu. A very, very close fight. Takes care of the heals. There's still Forest. There's still Furiox, though. Get me an elimination. Get me heals. Get me damage. TNT, where's your shot? We don't even need it. There we go. Dr. Spoon gonna fall there. Now Togo is gone. One-on-one, heads up Illuvium here with me and Spoon. Do need to potentially look for Alliance. There it is. Let's see, you have 4,000 HP, you have 3. I mean, I do have to take the augments in mind as well. Here. Lynx, can you quickly deal with this Tiru, or not Tiru, this Railu? Oh. Did I not move it? Interesting. But still, the Goliath is here, so it's going to be able to actually survive a little bit more, and I see why they did the move with the Railu, making it that so that stun did not really affect anything. Definitely get it. And this time the monk here will get focused down relatively early into the fight, so I don't know if that one big stun from before was enough to be the game changer, but right now Dr. Spoon's in the driver's seat. Okay. How do we want to handle this? If I level up, it's quite a bit. I have at least one more loss in the tank. Give up for one more shot. Do find Blazonite. That's kind of a big pickup there from them. Let's see if it'll do it this time here. Lynx, go deal with Railu, please. Definitely critical that you get taken down quickly before the Goliath shot comes off. There is backup here as well. Get the Omega out. There we go. It does go down. So now Goliath has its Omega come on through, right through that entire pack. Looking good, but they do have the Blazonite, of course, does a lot more damage now compared to before. Monk here does fall. Another good stun from the Goliaths, but I'm kind of running out of damage. Will end up falling here. One final time, and we do have actually this NPC round to give us a moment. Push us to the side. I just want to see exactly what we have in terms of augments before we get into the next fight. Couple ways that we can take this. Definitely going to be tough. Of course, Dr. Spoon has an incredible collection, incredibly raised Illuvials. Where even my Illuvials at their very best, and me at my very best, might not be able to win, but no Johns. Let's get into this and get the job done. We're going to level up to 10. And what do we end up scoring? Mammoth. Alphys. Fusions. Energy. Sure, let's do that. You go here. Additional HP towards Goliath. Let's do that, why don't we? This part is fine. Let's turn this into a mammoth. Turn you into a fighter. Last ditch final evolution here, maybe? No, that would break Aegis. You know what? Let's break Aegis. Give it a shot. I like the change there from Dr. Spoon, not using the Railu, instead using the Goliath to draw out my Goliath's attack. That's a good choice. However, by removing the TNT, I did curse myself a little bit by removing Granite. So my Goliath got completely melted, a little bit of an oversight on my part. And with there being just consistent stuns coming out here from my Blazonites, I should have positioned kind of a little bit reverse. I should have had my Ador, or my Adorito, in the corner, not the Alfie, not the Sin Alf. That will get the job done, though. GG's, Dr. Spoon, well played. Nicely done. We did fire off a little bit of Mud Aegis. Did not perform perfectly in terms of execution for myself, but it was a good try. GG. Oh, there's Dr. Spoon. GG. And with that, I don't necessarily have enough time for one more game, so for the first time in a while, maybe we catch up with Illuvium 0? Might be the way to go. And of course, big thank you to everybody for tuning in today. Hope you've been having a fantastic day. It's awesome to have this week in Illuvium on week number 3. I'm definitely getting faster at doing so. And getting through the markets and whatnot. I actually have my tabs pre-prepared this time. I know last week I was kind of stumbling around a little bit. Alright. Alright, back to gameplay. To 0. It's been a couple weeks, I think, since we did some sort of Illuvium 0 segment. But yeah, we're just chilling now. Got to work on a handful of my plots. Kind of explain a little bit what I ended up doing here. Now this tier 2 is essentially was just trying to get all of their converters up into max level, which I've not necessarily been attending to this plot in particular as often as I should be. So it's been kind of on maintenance mode, just collecting fuel and resources for the most part. Scoop all of that up, there we go. And move on to the next one. On these next couple of plots, I've been trying to get my scanners upgraded. For the most part, most of them have. But while I've been waiting, I've just been firing off the scanner, even if they are tier 4. So we do have a couple things that we could potentially check. Of course, I'm looking for tier 5s. See if we can maybe find some here today. First 3 not going to happen, but we're going to find a Nimble's Effort Lynx. I'm not going to say no to a Lynx. Nice little scoop up there. And I'm literally 1 away, ain't I? Yeah, I'm 1 fuel piece away from upgrading what would be my final scanner, but unfortunately I did not, or I cannot tell which is which. Because I would just cancel cancel the one and upgrade it. But I can't tell which one it is there, and I do not wish to waste fuel on a tier 1 plot. So I'll just make sure that it doesn't repeat for tomorrow, and we'll upgrade this final scanner here on this plot in just a day or so. Now Abyssal Basin, pick up a little bit of the passive side of things. Similar play here, these 3 are all level 5. 1 more coming up to level 5. Just got this guy over here in the corner still to do. Still need to keep making more Hyperion to make that happen. Still a long, long ways away from getting that done. Scoop all of this. And how about our 3 scanners for today? Tier 5s potentially? Not this time, but that's okay. And I'll leave that one alone for now. Third bluff. Okay, got 5 to pick up here. Similar scenario, except I got the 2 scanners that I need to keep building. Need more Hyperion. Most of my plots kind of in the same spot. Keeps it easy to remember, but it also makes it a little bit difficult in the sense that because they're so similar, I don't necessarily remember where everything stands. Can we find something here on Shard Bluff? We're not going to be able to do so. Not today. Okay, this tier 2. One of my newer ones, trying to build it up, trying to get the converters to a point of sustainability. Got plenty of fuel here on this tier 2. It's just been actually a matter of me just not checking in enough to keep getting these resources. Yeah, because I don't even think I can actually send... Oh, no, it's not high enough level. I can send these both off. There we go. That works. All fuel being gathered. But I really need to come back in time to scoop up some resources, because we can see in terms of carbon, I am extremely low. I'm sure I have some in the goals that I could pick up, but I do need to make it actually, you know, somewhat sustainable. Clear off some of these plants. I'll come back for upgrades once those are set up later. This is the plot that I kind of tore apart because I didn't like the way that my converters were set up. It is now basically set up for self-sustainability to the point where I'm even getting scans done here. Just having another plot that can help research blueprints for me. It's kind of been the game plan here for this one now. I just keep those converters running for fuel just because I was actually maxed out on my Solon for a little while. What can we score here? These are all up to level 3. We'll get the nimble links. Help make those blueprints, help make those combos a little bit quicker. My lone tier 3. Scoop up all the fuel and keep the conversions going. Even on this plot, I'm starting to actually upgrade my power or my scanners, because I can actually just really quickly get resources on this tier 3 plot. Extremely quickly. Just have something collecting some biodata. Originally I wasn't going to, but I realized that I could probably put 5 scanners onto this plot anyway. Maybe sneak in a research lab or 2, and if training gyms do ever come out, I will still have some space for it when the time comes. Okay, I think I'm all caught up on those. Take the passives. And I think I'm basically... Oh, there we go, I missed one. Missed 2, actually. There we go. At one point you said that fighting fit alluvials start around 85 TPI. With fusion disappearing, this could go down to 80 or even 75. Honestly, yeah, that's probably a good idea, or a good point. Because with the scarcity of the alluvials now, people are going to be stuck being a little less picky for competition. So anybody who got the head start with their own beautiful collections, like Soda, I imagine you're one of them, Dr. Spoon, and many, many more. Anybody who actually put the time in to get their Leviathan squad up early, again, if any competition happens from, say, now until whenever the MMOs release, which God knows how long that's going to be, right? We don't know how long Overworld's going to be down. I know there's, like, they're bringing it down for the sake of prepping the MMO, but that could take months. That could take a year, if not longer. Depends on how far along things have gone. So, any events happening in Arena in that time, all of you that actually put your collections together and raise your alluvials nicely, it's your time to shine, mate. It does end up being a little bit of a nice gift to the OGs. Yeah, 100%. Scoop all this up. What was I doing? I was just updating my extractors. I just got those ones to level 3. I think I have enough to do these two as well. Now they're all level 3. Could I get a level 4 potentially? It does look like it. Let's start from the center and work our way up. Get all of these up to level 4, then I can worry about scooping up the next level of Quantum Fabricant. Buff up my extractor here as well, and in theory we're golden. I should have plenty of space. Yeah, I need to work on this plot actually. Because I leveled up my Nexus up to level 8. Oh, it's not even level 9 yet. I must have mistaken this for the other plot. Okay, so what do I need? 160? Okay. I mean, I was just using Krypton, so that's not bad. I'll just let this extractor over the next couple of days just keep fueling me up here, and we'll look to upgrade this as soon as possible so we can then just start flooding this with power units to get these converters up to full efficiency. And this tier 1 plot will be about as good at producing fuel as any. This needs to be celebrated more considering how much people complained about OGs getting sacrificed. 100%, but let's be honest. Well, they'll find something else to complain about, right? There always is. Always is. What I do find a little bit odd, though, still, I kind of touched on it during the news segment, but like that's a pretty critical announcement, right? The fact that first the zkEVM migration's happening, but as a part of that, Overworld is closing essentially for good until the MMO comes out. Why wasn't this on X? Or why isn't it on Twitter? That feels like something that is kind of critical. I feel like I inadvertently kind of called out the team on the Arena 3 times experience one, because I had put a post in the general tab before saying like, hey, isn't this important enough to warrant its own announcement or warrant its own X post? And shortly after they did. But as much as I love being a source of information for Illuvium, I shouldn't be the main source, right? So, I hope, say for the zkEVM migration plus the Overworld Closing, I hope that gets its own post sometime soon, because in theory, you can have an explosive weekend right now, where people are getting their last-ditch effort at trying to catch some Illuvials. Everybody who's in the Discord knows, anybody who got the ping, but you can't assume that your entire audience is on Discord. There's been a few times where announcements like this have happened, and I would have been in the dark if I didn't accidentally scroll Discord. Oh, yeah, I thought I had something on this plot that I had to do. Or was it the other one? It was here, I think. I had some trees to cut down. Scoop these up. Clear the rest of those. Close up shop here. I try my best not to let the plants grow anymore. I've gotten a little bit tired of going after these 5-minute cleansings, but it does help in scenarios like this, though. Maybe it might not be a bad idea to leave a little garden for myself, so that when I'm struggling on resources like this... I mean, you know what? Maybe we'll keep that. So we'll keep that situated like this. Make a little wildlife section. Feel a little bit less industrial. And yeah, just have a couple of... You can put a little tree right there. Something like here. That might actually look kind of nice. I know it's something small, something simple, but I do like the vegetation. Like, I do like the plants in Illuvium, and I love them on my plots, but in terms of pure efficiency, it is problematic. But if I'm running low on resources, maybe I'll let them in. Inefficiencies are meant to be exploited. That's one way of looking at it. I hate the damn plants. I mean, if I had a couple hundred plots, I would 100% be doing it just with the pavement covering everything. But I have just enough where it takes a little bit of time, but nowhere near a all-day venture. Zephyros, I don't know how you do it, man. That's a lot to keep track of. Even with the few that I have. Like, what do I have? Let's see, 3, 6. I have 9 plots, and I still feel like I get lost. That's nothing compared to a couple hundred, I'm sure. But that will call it here for today's stream. But of course, it's not going to be the end of the streams for the week. If I bring up my schedule here one more time, we are going to be doing an arena-centric stream this Friday coming up. As somebody who, of course, did commentary for the Illuvium Pro League and really enjoys casting Illuvium in an esports kind of style, it's been a little bit of a drought since the IPLs ended. Of course, the IPL finished. It's in its hiatus. We do, of course, have Dreamers Esports closing up as well, which was the other tournament outlet for Illuvium, which means there has been essentially no competitions for me to cast. So I'm getting to the point where I'm just going to cast your ranked games like it's an esports style. So it'll be pretty fun. Make sure you line up for those matches. I'll, of course, on Friday, call out when to go, and I will use Data Kings to get me the lobby code necessary to catch your games, and I will absolutely do my best to make you and your Illuvials shine in terms of storytelling and commentary. It should be a fun time. I won't be competing myself. Yous are the superstars here today, or on Friday, rather. And then going into next week, we'll have to see, because technically, my next stream would then be on Monday, and that is the Overworld Closing day. It might be closed by the time that my stream happens. So I might not necessarily get a last-ditch alluvial hunting stream, unless I maybe combine it with the Voice of the Arena stream on Friday. But if people want to pick it up themselves, like we had seen in the This Week in Illuvium segment of the community segments, there very well might be an opportunity for you to be streaming your last second Illuvium Overworld hunts. It should be a nice time and overall. But I definitely need to eat something. Definitely feeling a little bit out of it. So one more time, big thank you to everybody for tuning in for today, for This Week in Illuvium, and sticking around with me here for the Illuvium Zero and Illuvium Arena after the fact. We'll get right back to things on Friday once again. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.